What's the biggest mosque in Australia?
Centrelink. Centrelink, I swear, you walk into a mosque, there's hardly anyone there. Only if there's...
This Imam walked into Pauline Hanson's studio and said the one thing nobody expected. Not that she's a racist, that she's right. He was born in Qom, Iran. He came here because the radicals couldn't follow, and for 17 minutes he takes apart the men who claim to speak for Australian Muslims. The Grand Mufti's own words, the welfare numbers nobody will say out loud, the burqa stunt everyone condemned. Hanson asks the questions, and he answers every single one without a dodge. So let's get into it.
No, you're not a racist, firstly, because Islam is not a race. I think you have arguments that many are trying to avoid. Many Muslims and non-Muslims are trying to avoid. I think you speak for a lot of Australians, a lot of people whose voice should be heard. At the same time, you do speak for a lot of Muslims that are victims of hardline, radical jihadism, this whole spread of jihadi atmospheres every now and then. So you do speak for them when you say you want to protect the borders and clean up the environment, correct?
Watch how he opens this. Pauline Hanson has been called a racist for 30 years. An imam born in Qom just took that word off the table. Islam is not a race, he says, and the whole smear collapses in one sentence. Then he pushes it further. She speaks for Muslims too, the ones who fled Iraq and Lebanon looking for peace. That is not a concession. That is the strongest opening anyone on television has given her.
I value our country, the lives that have been lost and sacrifices made for the freedoms that we have. And I suppose my concern is I don't want Australia to become a lot of other countries, or like a lot of other countries around the world. Lebanon, what's happened there, what's happening in France, even England, and if you see the problems they're having there. Am I right in what I say about, we need to protect our borders and who we allow into the country and, trying to stop those radicals coming in?
It's very simple. A respected country deserves respected borders. And no country that has a good reputation would allow anyone to come in and just walk into its borders. Now we have a great advantage, unlike Israel, unlike other countries. We don't have terrorist neighbors. We have a beautiful ocean. So half of the work has already been done. We don't need to worry about someone coming into our fence. The other thing is, how do we filter who comes in by boats and who comes in by plane, and what do we do with them? And protection is a basic human right. I mean, why did I come to Australia? Why did my parents come? I was a young boy.
You were born in Iran?
I was born in Iran, Qom. Yeah. Why did we come to Australia? One of the main reasons is because the radicals can't reach us here. We're living amongst a peaceful community, a peaceful environment. All of a sudden we grow up here. And I don't speak for myself alone. Many Muslims are like this. Many. Who would want to flee Lebanon, flee Iraq, and then have the radical who comes from the very community that butchered his family move in next door? Who would want that?
Hanson names Lebanon, France, England. The Imam doesn't flinch once. A respected country deserves respected borders. 9 words, and the immigration debate is over. Then comes the geography lesson. Israel is surrounded by hostile borders. Australia has an entire ocean. Half the job is already done. And listen to why his family came here. The radicals who butchered families in Iraq couldn't follow him to Adelaide. Who flees Lebanon only to find that man next door? That question ends the argument.
Imam, you've been criticised for being outspoken on these issues, and you are challenging other Muslims in the country. Tell me your opinion about the Grand Mufti in Australia. Do you think he represents, Muslims in this country the way that he should be, or have we put him up on a pedestal when he shouldn't be on that pedestal?
You've asked me a question, and I'm a very honest person.
Yeah.
Allow me to answer you. Firstly, Australia is not a Muslim country, and its government is not an Islamic government. Muftis belong in Islamic governments. Saudi Arabia and its mufti, Syria and its mufti, Lebanon and its mufti. Governments that have a large Muslim population that, for example, represent 50, 60, 70% of the nation, of the army, them having a mufti is reasonable. Mecca's next door, Medina's next door, no problem. The Shia Muslims, the Grand Ayatollahs, the hierarchies, they're living within their own sacred sites. In Australia, we don't have the need for a mufti to begin with.
Here's the question every Australian journalist has avoided for a decade. Does the Grand Mufti actually represent Muslims in this country? And an Imam answers it on camera. Muftis belong in Saudi Arabia, in Syria, in Lebanon, countries where Muslims are 70% of the population, and Mecca sits next door. Australia is not that country. He isn't attacking anyone's faith here. He's saying the office itself has no basis in Australia. Wait until he starts listing who has held it.
And I say, yes, we need a head federation, a figure. But this person needs to be suitable for the position. In my opinion, none of the muftis have been suitable. The first one came out and said, women are like cat meat, Tajuddin al-Hilali. The second one, who passed away, Fahmi Naji, came out on his first day in office, said, I'm not sure if Osama bin Laden is responsible for 9/11. That is his first statement, and he passed away. And the third one is this current mufti that's been here for 5-6 years. What title, what position, have you ever heard of a position, the Grand Mufti of Australia and New Zealand? We're in Australia. What does New Zealand have to do with your job? This whole idea of let's take control over the affairs of all Muslims. Firstly, not all Muslims are Sunni. And not all Sunni Muslims follow him. We have the Ahmadiyya Muslims who are peaceful. We have many Muslims that don't take their fatwas from him. I think the title in itself is misleading. The Mufti of Australia is misleading. He doesn't speak for all Muslims. He speaks for his own community.
3 muftis in a row. 3 disasters. The first compared women to uncovered meat. The second questioned who was behind 9/11 on his first day. The third holds a title covering New Zealand, a country he does not live in. He isn't sneering at Muslims here. Not all Muslims are Sunni, and Ahmadiyya Muslims take no fatwa from this man. The title claims he speaks for all of them. He doesn't, and everyone in that community knows it.
And I will say something. Our Prime Minister and the opposition, so Bill Shorten and Malcolm Turnbull, it really hurts when I see them visiting a man. You can see the pictures, smiling at him, rubbing against him. This is the same man, the Grand Mufti, when he was in Abu Dhabi, wrote an article or a book, and it's translated. The Kaiser translated it for him. And in the book he says the West brings us nothing but diseases. And he went to Palestine in the Gaza Strip and he met with the authorities there and he said, I'm proud to be on the land of jihad, learning from its sons. This is on the record. It's all proven.
So you can understand why when we hear these remarks, that's why I get very upset, and a lot of other Australians get upset. But here we have the Prime Minister, putting on a function with the marquee and had them in the marquee, and it's like, I get upset about this, and so do other Australians. And what is the answer to this? How do we find a balance? Now I can understand. I've met Muslims here who are supportive of me, and they've said, Pauline, you are right in what you're doing. Because they want peace. They want to live in this country in peace. They've left their own countries to come here for peace. But we've got these ones out here that are radicals, and we don't want it. I don't want them here. What do we do to stop the radicals coming into this country?
This is the part politicians should have to answer for. The Prime Minister and the opposition leader, photographed smiling beside the Grand Mufti. He wrote that the West brings nothing but diseases. He stood in Gaza and called it the land of jihad. It's on the record. It's all proven. Then Canberra threw him a function. Hanson is right to be angry here. The question isn't why she is upset, it's why nobody in Canberra read the man's own book.
That's a question for the immigration department. And the answer is very simple. Strengthen your borders. Don't make it as easy as it is now to come in for anyone. But I believe that the only way we could solve the problem is that if the authorities and the Prime Minister understand who they are dealing with. The Grand Mufti isn't what they think he is. Many people think when I speak like this, I want to be the Mufti. I want a female Mufti.
Oh.
Yes, I've said publicly last year, I want a female to be a Mufti for a change. The whole National Imams Council, there's not one female on the list in the website.
But isn't it under the Quran? It's basically about suppression of women. Women are only worth half the value, of a man, and their
According
attitude.
to their interpretation, yes.
Yes. So a woman means absolutely nothing to them. I want to put this to you. What was your opinion when I walked into the chamber in the Senate wearing a full burqa?
They should be happy. It's the dress code of the wife of the Prophet. They should be very happy, and they shouldn't be offended. Why are they offended? You were dressed very modestly according to them, no?
I was.
Oh, then why are they
very
offended?
much so.
Then why the outrage? You did something really good.
His border answer is 2 lines long. Strengthen the borders and stop making entry easy. Then he does something nobody expected. He calls for a female mufti. He points out the National Imams Council website, lists not one woman on it, and then comes the burqa. Every commentator in the country called that stunt a disgrace. The Imam's verdict is the opposite. They should have been happy. It's the dress of the Prophet's own wife. She was modest by their own standard. So where did the outrage come from?
But George Brandis, Senator Brandis, the Attorney General at the time, said I mocked the religion. That I actually mocked them because it is a religious dress. Is it a religious dress code?
It is a religious dress code to a very hardline minority of people. It is a religious dress code to a hardline minority, not mainstream Muslims. It's a fundamentalist thing. So if you take a look at the wives of the Saudi Arabian kings, are they dressed in burqas? No. You look at Walid bin Talal and his wife.
So what you're saying to me then, those women that wear the full burqa are more or less the fundamentalists.
They're the Wahhabi
then we do have a concern in this country, and especially now in our court system, the full burqa, they don't want to show their face, they won't stand up for the judge.
That's a problem. If a police officer says, show me your face because I want to match your ID card, and then you say no, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's a problem that affects national security and so on. Do you know why it's a problem? Because the solution for this problem is in itself a problem. So if we come and we say, you're a woman who is wearing a burqa, you've come to the airport and we need to identify if this passport belongs to you. Or you're driving a car and we need to identify if this license belongs to you. Or a bank or anywhere. And you will not show your face to a man or in any environment where a man can see you.
George Brandis said she mocked the religion. An imam just said she did something good. Notice who is actually informed here. The burqa is a Wahhabi fundamentalist dress code, not a mainstream Muslim one. The wives of Saudi kings don't wear it. Then comes the security problem, laid out properly. A police officer asks to match a face to an ID card. The answer is a special booth, like Dubai Airport, then a booth at the bank, at Coles, at every government counter in the country. The solution is bigger than the problem.
I'll tell you another big problem that we have in Australia is the multiple wives that Muslim men have. So they have 1, 2, and I think it's up to 3 wives. 4 wives. My God, that's worse.
I'm not finished. 4 permanent, as much as you like temporary.
And then they have all these children.
Correct.
And then they're on our Centrelink payments.
Correct.
So we're providing for them. And he's sitting back and he's saying, Australia's a beautiful country. I can just relax and have all this money pouring in. Am I correct?
You know, it's very funny you say that. That's why I always have a smile on my face, because I lived through what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can name a family.
Allah will provide.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have no.
Australian government, Centrelink. Yes, that's what I'm getting at. Centrelink
I
will
have
provide.
a family that I know in Perth. 11 children. They paid off their homes in no time. Homes in no time. And yeah, it's a reality. I mean,
I've spoken to the government about this. They're reluctant to do anything. They throw their hands up and say, "What can you do?"
but don't you think there's a plan to eventually end Centrelink by closing its offices gradually?
I've
heard there's a plan to shut down Centrelink.
well, it's going to eventually run out of money. So you know,
I think it's not a good idea, because where the Muslims are going to go then if you close down Centrelink?
maybe New Zealand. Oh no, I wouldn't do that to my mates. Tell me another thing. What's the biggest mosque in Australia?
Centrelink. Centrelink, I swear, you walk into a mosque, there's hardly anyone there. Only if there's food, or honestly, only if there's a feast like Eid and so on.
Yes.
The Muslims watching this, they will laugh, because they know that what I'm saying is true.
We
you go
know.
to a mosque, they're not. A Centrelink appointment, 8 a.m. at the door.
And who won't admit it is the government.
Correct.
And they keep handing out and they won't admit it. What's happening in our country?
Hanson thinks the limit is 3 wives. He corrects her on the spot. 4 permanent and as many temporary as you like. Then comes the line that made this interview famous. The biggest mosque in Australia is Centrelink. He says it as a cleric who has been on Centrelink himself. 11 children in Perth, multiple homes paid off. Walk into a real mosque and it's empty unless there's food. 8 in the morning at the Centrelink door is a full house. No commentator in this country could say that. He can, and he did.
Halal certification. Big issue with people. Whenever I mention it on my Facebook page, people get angry about it and I get the biggest response. Have we got rogues out there ripping off the system, claiming that they are halal certifiers, and as one said, you Australians are stupid. You are paying for my wife's shoes.
Yes, there is corruption everywhere. However, with the halal issue, it's a lot worse than what it seems. It's an issue of transparency. If I walk into a shop and I'm paying extra money for something applied to a product, and that is not apparent when I'm buying the product, that's a problem. So if I go and something is, for example, kosher, right? Muslims don't like Jews.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with Jews, but let's look at it from their point of view. If we walked into a shop and something is provided just to satisfy the Jewish community or the Christian community, and I'm getting charged for it, is that fair for me? I'll say no, I want to know, so I don't buy it. I want to buy the other option where there's no certification on there. I think this is the main road to solving the issue: transparency. If it's halal certified, tell us it's halal certified. Don't go hiding it.
Yes.
But companies and retailers just want money, they don't care.
Halal certification, the issue shouted down as a conspiracy. Here's an Imam saying the quiet part clearly. It is a transparency problem. You pay extra for something not shown on the label. He flips it to make it undeniable. Imagine being charged for kosher certification you never asked for. Is that fair to anyone? Label it and let people choose. The companies hide it because they want the money. That is not bigotry at all. That is simply a receipt.
Just one last question to you. What would you be telling Muslims that you know about me, about Pauline Hanson, and what I'd like to achieve?
I say, and I say this all the time, I say Pauline Hanson understands the threat of the radicals, the Wahhabis, the Salafis, Hezbollah, Hizb ut-Tahrir. You understand the dangers that come from such communities, and that you have the power to put an end to this radicalization, but you're in need of Muslim support. The only ones that can bring change are the Muslims themselves. And I think that is a window. It's a possibility for the future of Australia. We might not agree with you on many other issues, but when it comes to you saying, hey, I don't like Hizb ut-Tahrir, they want to take over the country and make a caliphate, are there no Muslims to stand up with me against these ones? Those who stay silent are the misguided moderates, and we don't need them. We need the brave ones, and there are many brave ones. Only for the sake of taking down these radicals and jihadis, we'll stand with you.
This is the answer the whole interview was building to. Asked what he tells Muslims about Pauline Hanson, he doesn't hedge for a second. She understands the threat from the Wahhabis and Hezbollah. She has the power to end radicalization, but she needs Muslim support to do it. Then comes the sentence that cost him friends. Those who stay silent are the misguided moderates. He names Hizb ut-Tahrir's Caliphate project out loud, on camera, under his own name. Who else in this country is doing that?
Will you work with me to guide me and help me to ensure that this country is peaceful and safe for future generations? You as a Muslim, as an Imam, myself as a Member of Parliament, that it is our country and we share it united and in peace.
Well, of course, I would work with everyone. The advice I have doesn't belong to me. It's a part of giving back to Australia.
I also need that knowledge and experience. I can read things, but you live it. You are an Imam. You are in connection with the Muslim people. I need to work with those people that really, truly want peace. I don't want someone out there ready to attack me or blow innocent Australians up or cause them, destruction or pain or suffering. It's all about working together.
17 minutes and not one dodge. No talk of complex questions. No calls for more dialogue. A Shia Imam born in Qom sat opposite Pauline Hanson and agreed with her on borders, welfare and halal. He went after the men claiming to lead his own community. He named Taj el-Din Hilali. He named Fahmy Naji and the Grand Mufti's own book. He knew exactly what that would cost him. That is the difference between a moderate and a reformer. One stays quiet and calls it peace. The other says it out loud and takes the threats. So did Imam Tawhidi say what Australia's leaders should have said years ago? Or did Hanson get an easy ride here? Drop your thoughts in the comments.